Here's a general procedure for solving linear equations. First step, call it step 0 here, clear any fractions by multiplying both sides by the lowest common denominator. This is step 0 because a lot of times you don't have to do this unless you have fractions in the equation. Even if you have a little equation, a fraction equals a fraction, you can always cross multiply. The next step would be to use the distributive property to multiply through parentheses, and that's if there are any parentheses. Your next step would be to combine any like terms. Your next step would be to move terms from one side to the other by adding the opposite. Okay? And then finally you divide by the number beside the x, or you multiply by the reciprocal, however you want to look at it, and that's using that multiplication rule that we have here. So let's do a couple tough ones here. Solving this problem, x over 2 minus 1/3 equals 4 minus 2x over 3. We have a problem here that has fractions in it, so we need to multiply both sides by the lowest common denominator. The lowest common denominator here is 6. So I put a 6 out here, and here's that same equation. And the reason you multiply by the common denominator is because that eliminates the fractions. So what I do is I say 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 3 times x is 3x. You can do that all the way across. 3 goes into 6 2 times, and 2 times a minus 1 is minus 2, equals. Now that 4 is really 4 over 1. So we'd say 1 goes into 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. A lot of people forget to do that with the whole numbers there. Minus 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 2x is 4x. So now we have an equivalent equation here that has no fractions. Now if there was any parentheses I would take care of it, but there aren't. And now we need to move our x's to one side and our numbers to the other by using that addition property. So what we'll do here is we could either subtract 3x from both sides, or we could add 4x to both sides. And since I try to keep my x's positive, I'll add 4x to both sides. Adding the 4x here will eliminate the x, and adding the 4x here gives me 7x minus 2 equals 24. Now we need to get our numbers on the other side. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. That eliminates the 2 there, and I'll get 7x equals 26. And finally divide both sides by the 7, and I'll get 26 sevenths, which is the same as 3 and 5 sevenths, or rounded to the nearest hundredth, 3.71. Let's try another one. With this problem, another problem with fractions in it, I have to multiply by the common denominator, and the common denominator is 20. What number will 5 and 4 go into? Well, 20. So I put the 20 outside of the big brackets here, and I take each denominator into it. So 5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times the minus 3 is minus 12, and I'll distribute that through the parentheses later. Notice that I do not take that, when that 5 goes into 24 times, I take it times the 3 and that's it. I don't take it times each one of these because that 4 will be distributed through when I take the minus 12 through. Okay, so again, 5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times the minus 3 is minus 12, and I'll distribute it through the parentheses on my next step. 4 goes into 25 times, and 5 times 3 is 15. And this minus 5 is just like that 4 there. It's over 1. So we say 1 goes into 20 20 times. 20 times minus 5 is minus 100. Now we eliminate the fraction, so let's distribute through the parentheses. I'll have to take that minus 12 through. So minus 12 times 4n is a minus 48n, and minus 12 times a minus 5 is a positive 60. So that's all I'm doing that step, just bringing down the plus 15 equals a negative 100. Now comes the combining like terms. Well, on the left-hand side I have a 60 and a 15, and they are like terms. Neither one has a letter with it, an N or anything. So 60 and 15 is 75. Next step, let's subtract 75 from both sides to get my numbers on the right-hand side. So I'm subtracting 75 from this side and subtracting 75 here. They'll cancel out here, and minus 100 minus 75 is minus 175. Finally, I have to divide both sides by the number beside the variable I'm solving for, so I actually divide by negative 48. Divide by negative 48 on both sides. And negative 48 divided by negative 48 is 1, so I just get 1n, or just plain old n, on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side I get negative 175 divided by negative 48. Well, two negatives divided actually give me a positive, so that would be the same as 175 over 48, which if you take the 48 into 175, it goes 3 times with 31 left over, so that would be the same as 3 and 31/48, or as a decimal, 3.65 rounded to the nearest hundredth. Let's have a little bit of practice with changing words into mathematical equations. Here we go. Your math book plus 5 pounds weighs 7.5 pounds. How much does your math book weigh? So let's write the equation to begin with. Your math book, we don't know how much it weighs, so we'll call that x, plus 5 pounds equals 7.5 pounds. So the only thing you would need to do to solve this problem is just subtract the 5 from both sides, and if you do that, you would get x equals 2.5. Let's try this one. This one says that 10 pounds taken away from 2 math books, we're assuming they're of equal weight, so 10 pounds taken away from, that means subtracted from 2 math books, 2x, okay, so we get 2x minus 10 there, is equal to 5 pounds. Okay, again, 10 pounds taken away from, or subtracted from, however you like to say that. So 10 pounds subtracted from 2 math books, 2x, equals 5 pounds. How much does one math book weigh? So you would need to solve this. You would need to add 10 to both sides, and we get 2x equals 15. That's by adding 10 to both sides. And then you would divide by 2 on both sides, and you would get x equals 15 over 2, which is the same as 7.5 or 7.5, however you like to write that. Let's try this one here. This one says the weight of 3 math books and 5 pounds. 3, we don't know how much a math book weighs, so 3 math books, 3 times the weight of a math book, that's what x is, and 5 pounds is equal to 15 subtracted from, so we're taking off the 15, so that's 15 subtracted from the weight of 4.5 math books. Well, 4.5 is the same as 9/2. Okay, switching this to an improper fraction. 2 times 4 is 8, 8 and 1 is 9, so we'd have 9/2. Now, I want to say it this way, not 9 over 2x, but 9x over 2. Because we don't want that variable in the denominator. When we say 4.5 math books, your weight of your math book is your x. 4.5x is the same as 9x over 2, or 9/2x. Now this is a pretty messy equation, so we'll have to clean it up here to solve it. Here's the problem again. The weight of 3 math books and 5 pounds, so 3x plus 5, is equals 15 subtracted from, subtract the 15, from the weight of 4.5 math books. Okay, well 4.5, as we said, was 9/2, and it's times the weight of a math book, x. So we get this equation, 3x plus 5 equals 9/2x minus 15. Multiply by the common denominator, which is 2. So I'll do that here. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 goes into 2 1 times 9 is 9, so we'd have 9x. Or you can think of 2 times the 9 is 18. 18 divided by 2 is 9x. And the 2 times the minus 15 is minus 30. So we eliminated the fractions. No parentheses, no like terms to combine, so we can get our x's on one side. We could either subtract 9x from both sides or subtract 6x from both sides. So I want to subtract 6x from both sides to keep the variable positive. So subtracting 6x from both sides, we would have 6x minus 6x is out of there, so we just have 10 on the left-hand side, and 9x minus 6x is 3x. Now we'd have to add the 30 to both sides. Since we have our x's on the right, we want our numbers on the left, so add 30 to both sides, and that will eliminate the minus 30, and 30 and 10 is 40. Now divide by the 3, and we get that x equals 40/3. So you can say it either way, 40 over 3 equals x, or x equals 40 over 3, and that's the same as 13 1/3 or 13.33.